This meeting of the Senate Finance Committee will come back to order. We will assume other members who were here and want to be back will be here in a few minutes. But we have Senator Klein available now and Senate File, wrong bill here, Senate File 2744 in front of us. Senator Klein, welcome to the Senate Finance Committee. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Marty, and thank you, committee members. My apologies to you all for making you wait today a little bit. Hopefully we can make up the lost time for you. Thank you for hearing Senate File 2744. And let me begin my remarks by thanking the people that have helped me get this bill to this place. My CA, Bill Lunzer, my CLA, Tyler Klein, our partisan researcher, Amanda Peterson, and the GOP researcher, Linnell Michelson, our counsel, Mr. Nolan Hodella, and our fiscal analyst, Ms. Grunwald-Noldner, and all the committee members, and especially my minority lead, Senator Dames, who was very helpful. This is a bill that I'm really pleased and proud to bring forward. I do believe that we came in to the Finance Committee on target, and I think we have a number of provisions in here that will improve the lives of Minnesotans and improve consumer protections for Minnesotans. I will not go through every provision in the bill and every bill that's included in the bill, but just some significant highlights that I think really make this a significant piece of legislation. I'm very proud of the Prescription Drug Affordability Board, which will go a long ways towards controlling medication costs for all Minnesotans, especially our seniors. Very pleased and proud of the Mental Health Parity and Substance Abuse Accountability Office establishment, which will move us forward in our goal of treating mental illness on an equal plane with physical illnesses. As the committee will see, after a tremendous amount of work this session, we will bring forward an amendment that comes to compromise on the white bagging provision, which will enjoy the support of all the interested parties in that, the PBMs, the providers, and the health plans, and I'm very pleased with that. I'm grateful as well for the requirement in this bill for the Commissioner of Commerce to review existing mandates on our health plans. We have more than 60 existing mandates on our health plans for items that they are required to cover. Some of these are clearly obsolete. This will force our government to go through a process of reviewing these and see if they are justified and worth the costs that they entail. Coming from the department, we have a free primary care for Minnesotans study. One thing we learned during the pandemic was that we were able to provide free vaccinations for everybody. If they had health insurance with a deductible, we would find a way to sort of kick in with government funds to cover that deductible. If they had no insurance, we would cover the full cost. This study aims to discover whether that same principle could be applied to primary care services. I think a student loan advocate is going to go a long ways towards protecting Minnesotans who are encumbered by student loans, and I'm proud of the Senior Safe Fraud Prevention Program staffing. With that, Mr. Chair, I would ask if we could turn it over to the fiscal analyst, Ms. Grunwald-Noldner, to go through the.
Ms. Grunwald-Noldner, welcome to the committee, and looking forward to you going through the spreadsheet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. And for the record, my name is Hannah Grunwald-Noldner. I'm the Senate Fiscal Analyst on the Commerce Committee. So I'll be walking through the spreadsheet that should be provided in your packets. The title is Commerce and Consumer Protection, Senate File 2744, as passed by the Commerce Committee. And just before we dive in, I'll explain how the spreadsheet is set up. The spreadsheet shows February forecast numbers compared to governor's revised recommendations numbers, and the bulk of the spreadsheet is showing the amounts appropriated in Senate File 2744. And this spreadsheet includes the entire base budget, including items already in the base and increases included in the bill. So I'll focus on the change items only, but if members have questions as we go through, we can pause and go into more detail. So this first page is showing just the general fund summary of Senate File 2744. On line 6, there's the spending of agencies in this bill, which includes mainly the Commerce Committee. There's an appropriation for the Attorney General, appropriation for the Department of Health, and for the Education Department. There's also some revenues, as you'll see on line 14, coming in for Commerce, Attorney General, and Education Department. And I'll point out on line 22, this is the net general total with revenues. For fiscal year 24-25, the entire budget in this bill is $62.6 million, with an increase of $9.7 million in fiscal year 24-25. And in the tails, this is a total budget of $62.63 million, which is an increase of $9.7 million over base. And I'll just point out that the targets for this committee were broken up into two areas, one being just the commerce appropriations being $10 million in fiscal year 24-25 and $10 million in the tails. And the premium security account transfer was the other part of the commerce target, which was a $0 target in 24-25 and a savings of $275 million in 26 and 27. Combined, the target for 24-25 is $10 million, and 26-27 is $265 million. So line 22, like I was just stating, that's showing the net general fund with the revenues. I split this out from the premium security account transfer just to show how Senate File 2744 aligns with the targets. So on line 28, this is the net general fund with the revenues and the premium security account transfers. So as it stands, Senate File 2744 is just under target at $9.7 million over base in 24-25 and a savings of $266 million in the tails. So I'll move on to more detail of each agency appropriations, beginning on page 2. The Department of Commerce for financial institutions. The first change item will be shown on line 43. This is to maintain current service levels. In fiscal year 24-25, it's an increase of $382,000, and in the tails, $502,000. On line 44, there's an appropriation for a new student loan advocate, which is established in Article 3 of the bill. This is an appropriation of $394,000 in the first biennium and ongoing with the same amount in the tails. And on line 49, there's an appropriation from the Special Revenue Account for Money Transmission Modernization Act, which is a one-time appropriation of $12,000. Jumping down to line 66, this is the first change item within the Administrative Services Division of Commerce. And this appropriation is a new one for staffing of the Senior Safe Fraud Prevention Program, which is $498,000 over the biennium and the same amount in the tails. On line 67, there's another maintain current service levels for this division of $807,000 in the first biennium and about $1 million in the tails. On line 68, for the Prescription Drug Affordability Act established in Article 2, there's appropriation of $1.1 million in fiscal year 24-25 and $1 million ongoing in the tails. On line 69, there is a one-time appropriation of $500,000 to Exodus lending grants, and this is there's a little bit more detail in the riders on this appropriation. So just to go into a little bit more detail, $150,000 of this amount is for Exodus lending to expand program and operational capacity to help individuals reach financial stability through small dollar consumer loans. And then $200,000 of this appropriation in the first year is to assist the development of character-based small dollar loan lending program within Exodus Lending. Then going back to the spreadsheet on line 70, there's a ongoing appropriation of $24,000 in the first biennium and the same amount in the tails for a biofuel report on the intermediate blends of gasoline. And I'll go to the next page, so page 3. For the Enforcement Market Assurance Division of Commerce, the first change item here is on line 90. This is the Consumer Fraud Bureau body-worn cameras. In the first biennium, it's a $62,000 appropriation, and in the tails, it's $42,000. On line 91, there's another maintain current service levels bump. In the first biennium, it's $601,000, and in the tails, it's $802,000. On line 93, there's an appropriation for a mental health parity and substance abuse accountability office. This is established in Article 2 of Senate File 2744 and has an appropriation in fiscal year 25 for $100,000, and in the tails over the course of fiscal year 26-27, $350,000. On line 98, there is an increase of maintain current service levels for the workers' compensation fraud protection under the Workers' Compensation Fund. This is $21,000 in fiscal year 24-25 and $28,000 in the tails. I'll jump down again to line 117. This is under the Telecommunications Division in Commerce. There's an increase for maintaining current service levels of $116,000 in fiscal year 24-25 and $156,000 in the tails. Moving on to page 4. The first change item here starts on line 143 for the Insurance Division in the Department of Commerce. Maintaining current service levels has an increase of $587,000 in fiscal year 24-25 and $784,000 in the tails. And on line 144, to advance standardized health plan options, there's an appropriation of $272,000 in fiscal year 24-25, and that same amount ongoing in the tails. On line 145, for a free primary care for Minnesotans study, there's a one-time appropriation of $636,000. On line 148, there's an increase for the Insurance Division staffing and operations of $3.4 million in fiscal year 24-25 and $3.6 million in fiscal year 26-27. On line 150, there's an $84,000 appropriation each biennium ongoing for a psychiatric collaborative care model, and this is to ensure health plan company compliance. There's more information about this appropriation in Article 2. On line 151, there's a $50,000 appropriation in fiscal year 24-25. The same amount is ongoing into the tails to evaluate existing statutory health benefit mandates report. On line 155, for the Workers' Compensation Fund, there's another increase here for maintaining current service levels, $60,000 in fiscal year 24-25 and $80,000 in the tails. Then moving down to line 184, under the Weights and Measures Division of Commerce, there's a $87,000 increase for maintaining current service levels in the first biennium and $112,000 in the tails. That wraps up the Commerce portion of Senate File 2744. So I'll just point out on line 195, this is showing the general fund total with the premium security transfer, showing that $9.7 million total dollar increase for the Department of Commerce in 24-25. The Workers' Compensation Fund on line 197 is showing the $81,000 increase in fiscal year 24-25 there. And I'll just point out as well, beginning on line 206, there's some revenue coming in from a few of these provisions. So beginning on line 207 for the Money Transmission Modernization Act, special revenue, this cost is offset by a revenue of $12,000, which is the same amount that is being appropriated. On line 208, this is the transfer from the premium security account showing up in fiscal year 2026 of $275 million. On line 209, there's an assessment coming back into the general fund from the Telecommunications Division, which is $116,000 in fiscal year 24-25 and $156,000 in the tails. And Senate File 2744 also includes some fee modernization. So on line 210, this shows the revenue generated from those fee changes, which results in a $968,000 revenue into the general fund in fiscal year 24-25 and $968,000 in the tails. So overall, for the Department of Commerce, on line 219 for fiscal year 24-25, taking into account revenues and transfers, there's a $238 million increase over base. And again, that's with the premium security account. So that number might be a little bit off, actually. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry, excuse me. This is including the transfer. So this number is going to be different from the first page that you're looking at because we were splitting out the premium security account from the $10 million target. And then in 26-27, there's a savings there. So moving on to the very last page, there's a few appropriations to a few other agencies. So beginning on line 224 for the Attorney General, this is the Prescription Drug Affordability Act, appropriation of $1 million in fiscal year 24-25, and that same amount in the tails. On line 232, there is some revenue generated from this Prescription Drug Affordability Act, $146,000 in fiscal year 24-25, and that same amount in the tails, giving the Attorney General overall increase over base $952,000 in the first year and the same amount in the tails. On line 242, the Prescription Drug Affordability Act has an appropriation to the Health Department of $120,000 in the first biennium and $102,000 in the tails. On line 243, for the existing statutory health benefit mandates report, the Health Department is receiving $10,000 in 24-25 and $10,000 in the tails. Line 248 is showing just a zero total for this bill that's a part of Senate File 2744. It was originally Senate File 482 for clinician-administered drugs, and this is just showing that this is a zero effect in the bill. On line 253, there's an appropriation to the Education Department for the Minnesota Council on Economic Education of $100 million in the first year. And on line 260, there's a transfer of this same amount into the general fund from the consumer education account from the special revenue account. So it's a net zero for that appropriation. And I'll just direct your attention back to the first page, which is showing the general fund summary for all agencies within this bill. And again, coming in just under target at $9.7 million in the first biennium and a savings of $266 million in the tails. I'll end there for any questions the committee might have.
Thank you, and I don't see any right now. Mr. Hudala, are you going to go through some of the language?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Nolan Hudala. I am nonpartisan Senate counsel for the Commerce Committee, with Ms. Grunwald-Nollner going through the spreadsheet, which obviously covers those appropriations set forth in Article 1. I will highlight some of the more notable provisions of the remaining articles, those articles being Articles 2 through Article 4. I will start with Article 2, which starts on page 10 of the first engrossment of Senate File 2744. That Article 2 relates to insurance policy, and I'll highlight one significant portion of this article. Specifically, I would point your attention to those provisions which come from the underlying bill, Senate File 168. That starts on page 13, line 5 of the bill, and it constitutes Article 2, Sections 8 all the way until Section 24. These sections prohibit a manufacturer from imposing an excessive price increase, that's a defined term in the bill, on the sale of any generic or off-patent drugs sold, dispensed, or delivered to any Minnesota consumer. The language further requires the Commissioner of Health to notify the manufacturer, Attorney General, and Board of Pharmacy of any suspected violation of this prohibition. The provisions also establish the Prescription Drug Affordability Board, as well as the Prescription Drug Affordability Advisory Council, which are tasked to review the cost of prescription drugs, represent stakeholder views, and also to set upper payment limits for drugs. This piece of the Omnibus bill accounts for a notable amount of the funding as shown in the spreadsheet that was previously discussed. Moving on to Article 3 of the bill. That article relates to financial institutions and starts on page 45. Specifically in that article, I will discuss the Money Transmission Model Act. This was governor's language, and it encompasses all of Article 3 of the bill with the exception of one section, the section on the student loan advocate, which is section 49. That Model Act repeals various sections of Chapter 53B, which chapter relates to money transmitters. Money transmitters generally refer to persons that engage in the business of receiving money from others for the transmission of that money to others by any means. The provisions of this article further create numerous new sections to adopt a state version of the Money Transmission Model Act. Generally, this act does 5 things. 1, it prohibits certain individuals and entities from engaging in the business of money transmission unless licensed under the chapter. 2, it establishes mechanisms for consistent licensing between states. 3, it imposes disclosure requirements to the commissioner. 4, it establishes conditions for the acquisition of control of a licensee under the chapter. And finally, 5, it provides definitions and regulation relating to virtual currency and related consumer protections related to that virtual currency. Article 4 is the article on weights and measures, and it simply encompasses provisions that come from one underlying bill. That underlying bill is Senate File 1459. It starts on page 93, line 6 of the bill. Those provisions require gasoline retailers to report their monthly intermediate blend sales to the Department of Commerce. Intermediate blends are defined by the bill's language as all blends of gasoline and biofuel in which the biofuel content exceeds 10%, but that does not exceed 50%. As previously noted by Ms. Grunwald-Noldner, there are costs for Department of Commerce administrative services associated with this provision. And finally, I note that there should be a summary and section index in each of the member packets. That includes more detailed information, and of course, I'd be happy to stand for any questions that the members might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions at this time? If not, perhaps I'd have Commissioner Arnold, if she wants to speak briefly to the bill, and then we can start working on the bill. Commissioner, welcome to the committee. We welcome any comments about the bill or whatever.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Marty, members. I'm Grace Arnold, for the record. I'm the Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Commerce, and I'm here today to thank Senator Klein and all who worked on the bill and just really express my enthusiasm for what's in the bill. In particular, it has items that will benefit Minnesotans in the department and help our ability to continue to offer services to consumers and businesses across Minnesota. Our governor's budget provisions have been included in the omnibus bill, so that will provide critical resources to our insurance, enforcement, and external affairs divisions. They'll help to ensure a strong and competitive marketplace and better protect Minnesota consumers. I'm sorry, I have terrible allergies, so you guys are going to have to deal with this with me. So I want to highlight that there are a few department priorities that are in this bill that I'm just really excited about. First is free primary care for Minnesotans. Senator Klein mentioned that. That's a study for really transformative work in the healthcare space. The Senior Safe Fraud Prevention Program will help assist seniors and vulnerable adults who are victims of fraud, and will help to do a lot of education for Minnesotans and for financial institutions to protect Minnesota seniors. We also have really great investments in the core operations of the department so that we can continue serving Minnesotans and Minnesota businesses in the way that we have and in better ways. So I just want to thank the committee, Senator Klein, and the team who worked on it. I know this is a lot of work to put through these bills, and just express my strong support and thanks to you all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any questions for the Commissioner? If not, thank you for being here. On the bill, I know you had at least technical amendments. Senator Friends, do you have the A15 amendment, I understand? Is that in our packets? Yes, it is in the packets.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. At the request of the author, I would offer the A15.
Mr. Chair, I can speak to the amendment.
Yes, please, Senator Klein.
Mr. Chair, as we prepared this bill to be heard in my committee, it had within it a provision about age-appropriate design, which was an internet regulation program. For various reasons, we carved that out. We amended that out of the bill at that time. We had paid for that provision by borrowing from the Insurance Division Staffing and Operations. The A15 simply takes the money that we borrowed from Insurance Division Staffing and Operations and moves it back into that line item. And I have an oral amendment to the amendment, which Ms.
Okay.
Grodner.
Sure, could you speak to our Senate Counsel or Ms. excuse me, Ms. Grunwald-Noldner, please go ahead with the changes you'd like to incorporate in the amendment.
Mr. Chair and committee members, on the A15, the oral amendment would be to strike lines 1.17 and 1.18, and after line 1.14, insert page 7, line 8, delete 9,163,000 and insert 9,305,000, and delete 9,567,000 and insert 9,709,000. And this change would be what Senator Klein just described, putting 142,000 into the Insurance Division of Commerce. And with this increase, that would bring the total change in fiscal year 24-25 to 10 million, which is the target.
Ms. Grunwald-Noldner, could you the language on 7, instead of adding it to the A15, just incorporate it? I just wanted to see how it reads in the bill. Could you repeat the numbers?
Mr. Chair, yes. So on page 7, line 8, delete 9,163,000 and insert 9,305,000, and delete 9,567,000 and insert 9,709,000.
Thank you. And to members of the committee.
Mr. Chair,
Senator,
I move that we incorporate the oral amendment into the A15 amendment.
you incorporate the language that she suggested into the A15. So you're offering the A15 with those changes incorporated. Okay. Is there a discussion of the amendment? Not all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion prevails. Senator Klein, you had Senator Whitman, I understand they have a A17 amendment. Is that in the packets? Do we know?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I can speak to that.
Yes, I just was going to say I moved the A17.
Mr. Chair and Committee, the A17, as part of the provision of this bill, we have continued coverage of preventative services. It's a department initiative. And what the A17 does is it simply itemizes existing practice into statute that ensures that we will cover treatment and prophylaxis for HIV standard medications. There's no cost to this, Mr. Chair, because it is existing practice, but it simply defends against future threat from the court system against providing these medications for people who need them. And I hope the committee can support.
Is there discussion on the amendment? If not, all those in favor of A17, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Senator Klein, you had your compromise on the A20 amendment from the White Bagging. And Senator Whitman, lead that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to move the 820 amendment.
And you or Senator Klein wish to speak to this.
I would gladly speak to it, Mr. Chair. And I won't take the committee through the long process of describing what white bagging is and the multiple negotiations that occurred around it this session. To say in brief, it is a process of ensuring that medications can be delivered safely and in a cost-effective way to people who go to infusion centers to receive some of these very expensive medications like chemotherapy and others. The parties of interest here are the PBMs, the health plans, and the providers, and they worked diligently through the session and came to compromise language which will address the safety concerns that were raised by pharmacists. They are all in support of this plan and have agreed to this language. So this will substitute for the language in the bill regarding white bagging. I would also say there's another provision in this amendment from the health plans that as part of this standardized plans provision from the department, historically we have allowed health plans, if they have fewer than 75 members in an existing plan, to phase it out, and this extends that benefit to the standardized plans provision in my bill, and it enjoys no opposition. It enjoys the support of the health plans.
Is there a discussion on the A20 amendment? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And then I would like to ask if Senator Klein would move the A22 amendment, which Senator Friends, I'm sorry, Senator Friends, it said Senator Klein. Senator Friends would move the A22 amendment, which is an updated version of the A16 that's in our packets. This is the language we've been putting on other bills for financial review of grant recipients. Senator Champlin the other day said we should make sure that for-profit grants are reviewed carefully, and in for-profit cases, it's usually been treated as business subsidies, but this language, I think Senator Murphy and others have been trying to address concerns, make sure we have a good process for financial accountability to do this. This is basically the same amendment we did the other day. Senator Friends.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Klein, for bringing this to our attention beforehand. I have seen this and want to offer the A22 amendment and my full support of the amendment.
Is there further discussion on A22 amendment? Senator Graham.
Thank you, Chair Marty. And on that, what is can you show us, or maybe staff could tell us what lines changed from yesterday till today on this A22 amendment?
And Ms. James, who helped with the drafting of this, is not here right now, but I will say basically what we added in, the definitions, we added the grant and grantee. It was earlier simply for nonprofits, and the gist of it were that this would be covering both for-profit and nonprofit, and you'll see on line 25 of page 1, for a for-profit business, instead of requiring the Form 990 or 990Z, we'd be requiring 3 years of federal and state tax returns. I believe the rest is basically the same. In other words, we're just simply making sure we covered for-profit one. Senator Champion was saying, you know, we should be making sure wherever the recipient of the grant is that they should go through this. And when we discussed with DEED, which is one of the biggest agencies in terms of making grants, make sure this fits in, and they basically say with the way they deal with it, make sure every agency is trying to handle it the same way. And as again, I mentioned Senator Murphy has in her bill some things in response, direct response to the legislative auditor's report last year. Is there further discussion on A22 amendment? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion prevails. Further discussion or amendments? Senator Dames.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just have a question, and I'm not sure who would want to answer this. I'll start with Senator Klein. On the standardized plans, can you tell me what we're going to be doing there with standardized plans as far as what information are we seeking to find?
Senator Klein.
Mr. Chair and Senator Dames, I can describe it briefly, and I might ask Mr. Kelly from the department to come forward and give a more fulsome answer. My understanding is that the exchange is currently very complicated and difficult, and people tend to click and choose the insurance product that has essentially the lowest premiums without, having a balanced understanding of what their benefit set will be or what their copays will be. This aims to simplify that website and make it more clear what exactly consumers are getting, but I'll turn it over to Mr. Brickwitty.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Brickwitty, welcome to the committee, and please go ahead.
Mr. Chair, Senator Dames, I would echo Senator Klein's comments. Standardized plans, which are something that exists in many other states, particularly in federally facilitated.
Mr. Brickwitty, could you speak more directly into it? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Senator Pratt, thank you. My apologies. Senator Dames, standardized plans are an attempt to provide easy to understand and commonly offered across all plans product in the marketplace for consumers. Standardized plans are a concept that exists in several other states, including federally facilitated exchange states. So happy to answer any additional detailed questions if you would like.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A follow-up?
Go ahead.
So have we been having a problem in the exchange of people not understanding how to get through the process, or what kind of complaints have you had that's bringing this about?
Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair, my apologies for the record, Peter Brickwitty, Assistant Commissioner from the Commerce Department. My apologies for forgetting that protocol. Senator Dames, I don't think this is in reaction to complaints from consumers. I think the intention of standardized plans is to provide an easier to understand improvement to the experience of shopping for health insurance, and to have that offered in a uniform way so that consumers are able to understand what the benefits and features of that product would be, and then also to allow insurance companies who offer them to then continue to offer innovation or other opportunities for consumers to compete for their business.
Thank you. Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Another question here. The free primary care for Minnesotans study. Senator Klein, can you tell me what all is going to be in that study? What are we looking for? What information are we looking for, and what's the use of that information when we receive it?
Senator Klein.
Mr. Chair and Senator Dames, thank you for the opportunity to speak to that, which I think is an exciting part of this bill. And again, I think it was generated out of the experience during COVID when we were able to provide free vaccination for everyone who wanted a vaccine. And you were able to hybridize the subsidy funding depending on what sort of level of coverage that person had. If they had private insurance with a deductible, the state would cover the deductible. If they had no insurance, the state would cover the cost of the vaccine in full. I think the idea was generated from that. Could we apply that same concept to primary care and make sure everyone has zero-cost primary care and fill in whatever coverage gaps they may have in that circumstance? So we're going to do a study to see if that's practicable, and Mr. Brickwitty can correct me if I don't have that accurate.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Brickwitty.
Senator Dames, I echo Chair Klein's comments. I think we know that individuals who receive primary care help us prevent longer-term, more costly care that is provided in other care settings. So I think we are interested in understanding if we were to move to a system where we were able to provide primary care to individuals and make that more accessible, if that would help us avoid long-term healthcare costs and to also increase access to Minnesotans who may not be accessing primary care for a number of reasons.
Thank you. Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead. Please proceed.
Will this study include cost-benefit analysis or cost analysis or Or what direction are we going there with this study?
Mr. Chair. Senator Dames, I would expect so. I think our hope is to be able to provide information to policymakers about what the costs and potential trade-offs might look like and where there might be benefits to Minnesotans and to relief, hopefully, in the cost system across the healthcare spectrum.
Thank you. Mr. Chair?
Please proceed. Just continue.
Another question I have, Senator Klein, is existing statutory health benefits mandates report, which I think is a good idea from the surface, and I just need to get a little more information. But is that report going to take a look at what these mandates are and what it's costing in premium? What all will be included in that report?
Mr. Chair and Senator Dames, and thank you again for highlighting one of the features of this bill that I'm specifically most proud of. The initial concept here was that we would just apply the 62J mandate review process to all the old mandates, but it was deemed the case in discussions with the department that might not really give us the information we were looking for. And what I was specifically looking for in my experience as a clinician was some sort of cost-benefit analysis of these things. What are we getting out of it? How much are we spending on it? How many sort of human lives saved per year are we accomplishing? Is it still recommended medical practice that we continue these things? And there's a full list within the bill itself, which I don't have access to here immediately. But yes, the specific areas that you're concerned about are covered in that, and gives sort of an analysis of the medical benefits of these existing mandates and also the cost that we're expending on them.
Follow-up, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, please just continue.
So let's say that this study or this evaluation, let's say that it indicates that there's something that needs to be changed or something that maybe needs to be eliminated. What's the next step going to be?
Mr. Chair and Senator Dames, the next step would be for our committee to eliminate those mandates, would be my expectation. And I think a lot of these have accumulated over time, kind of on an anecdotal basis. You'll have a constituent with a sympathetic story, and all of a sudden we mandate something in perpetuity for all Minnesotans and all health plans at an unknown cost. And it may be the case that that's just not the type of healthcare decision that we want to make or is worthwhile. So I think it would be up to our committee and up to the HHS committee to decide going forward if once we have this analysis, if we want to eliminate those from the books.
Well, thank you, Senator Klein, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Further discussion. Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Senator Klein. You obviously put a lot of time and effort into your bill, and I appreciate that. I had a couple questions, if I could. The first is on the student loan program, and my understanding came out of Senate File 998. Is that correct? I was on higher ed 5 years ago, and we talked a lot about how to pay for school, how to lower the cost of school, but we really didn't hear much about abuse of loans other than the fact that they cost too much for our kids. So has there been an uptick in issues with different loan programs directed at college kids?
Senator Klein.
Mr. Chair, Senator Draheim, this is a Senator Zhang bill, and he would be able to speak to it more fully, but my sense is that it's not in response to an uptick in complaints or fraud, but rather to address the problem, of heavy student loan debt throughout the state of Minnesota, and providing an advocate for students who, can look for alternative means to fund their student loans or ways to pay them down more effectively. And Mr. Rickwood, may have more information on that.
Mr. Chair, Senator, I think I would concur with the chair's comments. Sorry, Mr. Chair, I've got to continue to be in front of the microphone. Senator Draheim, I think we don't know at the Commerce Department necessarily, because this is not an area where we currently regulate. So I don't know if I could say that this office is being created in reaction to an increase in complaints, because we don't currently necessarily receive them. I think there certainly has been a tremendous amount of focus, both in Minnesota and nationally, on student loans. So I think this having been something that has moved through the legislature for a couple of years, I think have worked with the legislative authors to craft something that could be stood up and hopefully produce some significant assistance for Minnesotans if they do encounter issues with their student loans.
Chair?
Senator Draheim.
Thank you. And I don't disagree that, parts of the bill, when I read it over, are very important. I just question where we're putting the focus on the Department of Commerce instead of the Office of Higher Education. And, I think we need to reconsider that if it is for educational purposes and trying to educate our students that are going to all our different types of institutions in the state. I think it would be better suited there than the Department of Commerce, no offense. And I'm sure you have plenty to do. So I question that. And then my next comment, I know we adopted some amendments and, there's a nice breakdown of different bills in your year-end bill here. Did all the bills have hearings that are in this bill, especially the amendments we adopted today?
Senator Klein.
Mr. Chair, to speak first to the amendments, no, the A-17 was not heard. It is in response to recent federal court action in the state of Texas and is new language, but again, only establishing what is current practice within the state of Minnesota. The white bagging was heard in the committee, but the agreement was reached subsequent to that committee hearing, so that is also new language. And then the only bill listed within my bill that was not heard here in the Senate was the Zhang bill, Senate File 1490, Psychiatric Collaborative Care Model. So.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you. And then my last, I guess, more of a comment on premium security account for the reinsurance. We served together on the Health and Human Service Committee. We had a lot of discussion on reinsurance. Senator Dames has been one to champion that complicated program we stood up. Are you worried at all that this will cause the tax to tick up and the cost of care to go up, which is something you had mentioned earlier in your comments, that you wanted to go after that cost of care? And here I see us stealing money out of an account that will directly affect that rate at some point. So just your thoughts on that, if I could, Chair.
Senator Klein.
Grateful to have the opportunity to speak to that. And first of all, I want to say that I, in the past, have been maybe an outspoken opponent of the reinsurance program, and I think Senator Dames knows that. And however, as I said in committee, when this came up there, it is very difficult to argue with success. The reinsurance program has succeeded in what was its primary mission, which was stabilizing the market and holding down rates for people in the individual market. When we funded it last year for 3 years, we calculated the amount that it would cost based on the expectation that federal advanced premium subsidies would, tax credits, would expire. They did not expire. They were renewed in the Inflation Reduction Act. So that program is currently overfunded to the tune of $270 million. We are simply reverting that excess back to the general fund. It is in no way a decision on changing our approach to reinsurance or doing something else like a Minnesota Care public option. Those are significant discussions about how to hold down the cost of health care, but they are discussions for another day, another committee, and another bill. This is simply reverting an excess to the general fund.
Further discussion. Senator Friends.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Klein. Our first discussion about bringing down healthcare costs was December 2016. We had just been elected but not yet sworn in, and you engaged with such a full heart on the cost side of it that I was really impressed, and I'm more impressed today about the bill you're bringing forward. You are clearly the right person to be asking some of these questions. I want to, thank you, thank nonpartisan staff, thank partisan staff for the work on it, and hope you keep taking us down this road to ask these tough questions. I think Democrats and Republicans have every reason to be saying, what is the cost and what is the benefit? Other countries seem to do it better than us, to ask the tough questions. And I think you've always had the hallmark of being willing to say, let's take a look at this, and not afraid to make tough decisions. In my opinion, members of this committee, the tougher decisions are ahead of us on health care and health care costs. And I think we have a Commerce Chair who's well equipped to lead us. I'll be a yes vote on this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Friends. Further discussion. If not, Senator Mohammed moves. Did you want to speak to the bill, or were you?
If that's okay.
Go ahead, I thought you were.
I know I look a little bit like Senator
Okay.
Frantz today.
Sorry.
No, I just wanted to, I know, very unfortunate. I just wanted to thank Senator Klein for bringing this bill forward. During the campaign, we heard a lot about consumer protection. We also heard a lot about what it means for us to take care of the most vulnerable people in our state, the sick, the elderly, and I think this bill does that, especially with the Prescription Drug Affordability Board. And so I wanted to thank you for bringing it forward, and I'm excited to vote yes.
Further discussion? If not, now Senator Friends moves that Senate File 2744 as amended be recommended pass. On that motion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion prevails. Senator Klein and Ms. Grunwald-Noldner and Mr. Hadawa and all the staff and everyone else, thank you very much. And with that, tomorrow morning, we are convening at 8:30 in the morning. I believe we're beginning with higher education bill, then moving to the human services bill. And the plan for next week is that we're going to be in this room starting at 8:30 a.m., going till noon and returning 30 minutes after floor session ends on the bills as we get through the bills. And I think we're getting through a decent number of them, but we still have Health and Human Services next week, and Transportation, Elections, State and Local, Veterans, Energy, Environment, and Education, and I believe that will wipe them all out. Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, next week you mentioned 8:30. Does that include Monday, or is that Tuesday? Monday, many of us coming back from rural areas, but what's your plan?
I'm told it does include Monday. Would it be helpful to some of the rural members if it was a little later?
I don't think we want to do that, but we can do it.
We don't want to do it too much. Yes. 11:30.
That's something to think about. I just wanted to clarify. I guess it wasn't clear for me.
I'm sorry, yes, it's Monday, we'd be beginning Monday at 8:30, and because you asked, we'll move it to 9.
You could talk it over and whatever.
Yes, we will send out notice on that, but
Okay.
if there are no further discussion, this meeting is adjourned.